Welcome to Future Prospects, guys. I am excited, so excited. We have on two powerful voices, two powerful leaders. We have on Deputy Mayor Steve Anderson and Althia O'Hara Stephenson that is here to share with you a very important, how would I say, coalition, initiative, platform that they have put together within Shelburne. I don't want to give away the nuggets because I want them to share it with you. So with no further ado, welcome Steve, welcome Althia. Welcome, honey. Am I saying it right, Althia?
Right on. Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Awesome. So welcome, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How are you this evening?
I am well. Wonderful. Thank you. And thank you for having us.
You're welcome. Steve?
I feel the same way. Honored to be on your platform.
Awesome, hon. Your story came to me by a previous guest. Her name was Soha Solomon, and she is part of your story. But I would like you just to introduce to the viewers who you are. And I'm going to start off with Althia on who you are, and then I'll take it up to Steve, and we can work from there and go from there.
Perfect. So my name is Althia O'Hara Stephenson. I'm a business continuity management professional with the financial services industry, chair of the Anti-Black Racism Task Force in the town of Shelburne, and president and founder of the Dufferin County Canadian Black Association, an advocate for the community and a strong voice for the Black community and especially our youth in Dufferin County.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Althia. Steve, please.
Steve Anderson, Deputy Mayor for the town of Shelburne. What maybe some folks may not know is I'm also a litigation lawyer for the Toronto Transit Commission. I've been doing that for now about 16 years. So I'm wearing two hats on a daily basis, but I'm really glad to be here and part of this program and to be able to share what we're doing in the town of Shelburne.
Awesome. Now, like I said prior, and thank you both very much for the introduction there, is Soha shared her thoughts on being with the Shelburne Anti-Black Racism Task Force. And you're both powerful voices because through our pre-interview, you spoke from the heart. And it's something of a conversation that we need to keep going, which you can both agree on that, correct?
Absolutely.
All right, my love. So why is it and how is it that this initiative came together? How did the conversation start? Anybody can jump in or?
So we're talking about the anti-racism task force. How did that come about?
That's right.
Yes, really. So, I mean, in large part, it came about as a result of the groundswell of the community really crying for change and wanting to see things not be the status quo anymore. And I think what drove that really was the murder of George Floyd, which we're all quite familiar with. I think that really shifted the conversation, the thinking for a lot of people. And even though this incident happened in the United States, as you know, Joy, we're not, it's not just relegated to the States, it's certainly here as well. And so how the initiative came about is that we saw a lot of people in the town of Shelburne come together. We had that march that started at the recreation center all the way down to town hall. And you know, we had the opportunity as leaders to address that crowd. And from there, the thought came that, you know what, we as a council really need to go beyond words and establish something that could really drive transformative change. And that's how the task force was formed.
Awesome. Okay. Althia, I know you've got a strong voice, my love, and I got to watch the time. I got to watch the time on both of you here because I know how passionate you are. So can you share with the viewers, please?
Perfect. So from my perspective, you know, adding on to what Deputy Mayor Anderson just shared, you know, once we saw the community mobilize and gather together, you know, with the first of its kind Black Lives Matter March in Shelburne, the community really got together and stood up for change. And so when the task force was formed, for me, it was pivotal because we had all of these community leaders stepped up. They received the call. They said yes. We all came from various backgrounds, but everyone was up for the challenge. Everyone was committed and devoted to being part of this great transformative initiative for the community. And you see the results. And I think we'll get more into the details of what we accomplished together as a team later on in your show.
Thank you, my love, for sharing that. It's very touching to me because I'm originally from the city. And this is something that, you know, you deal with and you don't deal with, but in a small community, it was not seen until George Floyd, or till, not even George Floyd, it was George Floyd kind of opened up the conversation that brought people to the table. When you formed this, was there any question within the community of anybody not wanting it, or is there a problem? Was there any things like that? I'm just being the devil's advocate right now.
Yeah, I would say, Joy, you know, like any initiative, there's always going to be those who question it and may not support it. And I think I can confidently say that, you know, this situation was probably one of those kinds of situations where there were voices of dissent. But look, at the end of the day, the majority of the community supported the initiative. The majority of the community understood why the task force was created. And again, the mandate was from the people. This wasn't just members at the top, including myself and the mayor and rest of council, that on our own decided this was a good idea. We got the mandate from the people, and the amount of people that showed up, the amount of people that spoke and demanding change, it was obvious that we had to move in that direction, and so we did.
Awesome, my love. Althia, you can weigh in on that, my love.
Regardless of, you know, whether there were naysayers or people who didn't agree or people that agreed, one of the most powerful and impactful things that came out of this task force was the fact that we were able to gather stories. We were able to gather data from the community themselves to share, you know, their lived experiences and things that they have experienced and seen in the community and things that they would like to see changed going forward. So that was powerful in itself to be able to drive the initiative forward and make some of the recommendations that were put forward to the town of Shelburne.
How did you gather that data, guys? Like, how did you, was there a meeting? Was there a town hall meeting? How did you gather that data to put together this initiative?
So we had a team of, I think, 13 individuals on this task force. And from the very first meeting, we laid the foundation, essentially a project plan from, you know, day one right up until the date that we were expected to deliver the final blueprint to the town of Shelburne. Included in that was a roadmap to gather data from the community. Data included a focus group. Data also included presentations from community stakeholders for various organizations, churches, individuals. We also had a forum where individuals can share their own stories. So the task force members had a chance to share their lived experiences. Community members had the opportunity to share their lived experiences. And I think I mentioned survey. We had an actual survey that was published to the community where they can actually respond to specific questions, and we were able to get some statistical information from that.
That is, wow, incredible. When you read those stories, did you have a chance to read those stories? Well said, Althia, well said, really well said. Steve, did you have a chance to read any of those feedback or stories?
Yeah, absolutely. As a group, those stories were presented to us. But even before, and I think what Althia was referring to was the focus groups, where you really had an opportunity to sit down and have one-on-one conversations with a small group and get the crux of some of the issues and what they were dealing with. But all along the process, we had people who came before the task force, of course, virtually, community partners and individuals as well, that also spoke about things that they had experienced in the community. And so all along the way, we were digesting this information. But before we even got to that point, it was incumbent and important for us to undergo anti-racism training, so that when we were getting this information, we were able to sort of be on the same page. We weren't questioning terminology and words. We certainly weren't going to undermine people's experiences. That we were going to be sensitive to the nuances and all the other things that come in these packages. And so that helped us tremendously to prepare ourselves in our minds to deal with the emotional, I'll put it this way, the emotional information that we were to receive. So it was all, the task force was formed for a very short period of time, but it was quite intense.
Oh my gosh. On this, it's 14 to 15 members, correct? Within the task force, right?
Roughly.
Yeah, okay. Because I was counting it on social media and I was doing my little research there. You have 2 students, correct?
Yeah, we had Cheyenne and Soha.
Soha. So just asking now, Althia, why was that important to have two students representing your task force?
So first of all, we had Cheyenne, who is one of the organizers for the march. It was essential to have her voice. Look at her as a young leader, pushing for change. You have Soha Solomon, who is an active voice in the community, and she has stood up for a number of initiatives, not just for her own community, but for the Black community and others. So she's a voice for change. She's a strong advocate and ally for many different groups in the community. So it was essential to have her voice at the table to share her perspective and hear her recommendations on things from a student perspective, even on things that we can do to make the community more inclusive, not just from an adult perspective, but from a young leader perspective. So there was no choice. It made smart, it was a smart decision to have all of our youth participate in the forum.
How proud are you both of both of them stepping up? Because you know how hard it is sometimes to find them, but now I find that leaders are just coming out of the woodworks. But how proud are you of those, both of them?
Beyond
Steve?
proud. I don't think words can explain how proud I am of these two students. I've had the opportunity to work with Soha on a number of initiatives, and every time she steps up, she just thrives and she continues to shine brightly. And I can just look back with pride, to see how as such a young leader can step up and advocate for change. Things that even in my own adult life, I still struggle with stepping up and getting uncomfortable and fighting for change. So I'm quite proud of her.
I find that very hard to believe of you because you've got a very powerful voice, my love. Steve, I'm going to have you wrap it up. We only got 20 seconds. What's your thought on that? 20 seconds.
20 seconds or less.
Yes.
I echo the same sentiments as Althia. I mean, you can't help but to be proud. Our young folks, unfortunately, have gotten the bad rap over the years that they're disengaged, uninterested in matters that are germane to the community. And so the two individuals that Althia referenced are not just community activists, they're trailblazers, right? They're certainly trailblazers for the town of Shelburne and certainly for Dufferin County. So as she said, you can't help but to be proud, and they've certainly have gone on to get recognition on their own. Obviously, you've had Solomon Soha on your show, and we all know how powerful voice that she is. So tremendously proud.
Well, that is awesome. Guys, thank you. I know you're coming back. You're not going anywhere. We'll be right back, guys. Stay tuned. Future Prospects. Thanks, guys.
This program is brought to you by Ignite TV. Now you're in command. Visit Rogers.com for more details.
Family, it's just extremely important. People move around. Connected for Success has just made it so much easier. For the longest time, I was on cloud nine. It connects you to family. It connects you to the outside world, and it makes you feel connected to the community. It was a whole new experience. You realize then how much you missed out. In fact, connect is my favorite word now. I love that word. It keeps me out of trouble.
Could you use some extra cash? Tune in to McLaren Arts Center TV Bingo on Rogers TV for your chance to win. We have $2,500 in prizes up for grabs every Tuesday night. 5 ways to play, 20 chances each night, but only one way to win. Tune in to McLaren Arts Center TV Bingo, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. only on Rogers TV.
It's so inspiring to know that there's people out there that are willing to help people who've gone the situation that I've gone through. Because of United Way, I'm able to stand in front of you today with a good job that I can actually make something of myself.
Welcome back to Future Prospects with Althia O'Hara Stephenson. The reason being why I want to just take a little minute here to introduce this beautiful young woman is because through our pre-interview, she had such passion, so conviction about what she's done. Her bio that came over to my office, I need another hour of the show to talk about what this woman has achieved and to show you as young people, future prospects, what you can achieve when you focus and do what you want to do. So Althia, thank you. Althia, sorry. I knew I'd say it wrong.
No worries.
I just had to give you your own segment because throughout our pre-interview, hon, you were so powerful, like such a passionate leader. And from what you're doing at the Shelburne Anti-Black Racism Task Force is only one hat that you have and own. So I'd like you to share to the viewers and take it away, inspire our youth.
Well, thank you for the platform and thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit more about myself. I'll touch on some of the things that I am most proud of. Of course, I'm proud of everything, but the ones that I think of are of significance. Of course, I'm a mom and a wife, and I recently completed my MBA with Edinburgh Napier University in Scotland. Just last year, had my graduation. And
Yes.
For me, that was quite powerful because I have two young minds that I am trying to mold in my family. At the time, a 19-year-old and a 13-year-old, and they were able to travel with me to Scotland to see mom walk across that stage, which was, for me, quite powerful. So that is something that I think is important that I wanted to share. In addition to that, I'm president of the newly founded Dufferin County Canadian Black Association, an association that was established to advocate for the needs of Black Canadians in our community and to advocate for equity and, advance for well-being, everyone's well-being in the community, to make the community more inclusive. So those are just a few of my many hats, but all of the things that I've accomplished in life is essentially to propel me to be able to inspire others. When I look back at, my career journey and my professional life to where I'm at today, I don't want anyone, whether you are a youth or an adult, to say that you can't, because I am a living example that you can once you set your mind to doing something. My children, many ask, how are you able to work full time, do all of your community activities and pursue your MBA? Well, I like to cheat and say, I have my children beside me. When they're doing their homework, mom's doing their homework too. So it instills that drive and that pride and, that commitment to know that hard work does pay off. So that's probably one of my most inspiring accomplishments that I definitely would like to share with your audience.
Wow, my love. Oh my gosh. Just to go back, really back a little bit here. What was it like getting your degree there in Scotland with your children in the audience? What was that like? Achieving that as a mother now, we're talking mother to mother here.
It was one of the it was a proud moment.
Yes.
There's no other word to describe it. And to hear the thoughts and to hear the pride from my children. My daughter, she was recording and you could hear her screaming in the recording, "That's my mommy." Like, there's no other moment. There's no greater accomplishment, on this earth. Giving birth is an accomplishment by itself. But hearing, your children, seeing the pride and sharing the pride, from mom walking across the stage is quite an accomplishment. But more importantly than that, it's not so much about what mom has achieved. It's that legacy and that example that, I was able to put in motion for them to say that, what, just because mom has achieved her MBA, the whole point is you can choose your own path. You can walk your own path and achieve greatness. Once you make up your mind and you put in the hard work, you will get there. So it wasn't so much that you have to have your MBA and you have to have this and you have to have that. The whole point is that hard work and dedication pays off and you too can achieve. And that was one of the key messages that I wanted to share with my daughter, and my son, and of course to all of your viewers and all of my young leaders who will be listening to this segment.
Wow, my love. Oh my God. Do you do public speaking?
No, but I've been told I should.
Yes. Yes, you should, my love, because you're inspiring me as you speak. You really are. That's why I had to give you your own segment, because you're so enlightening. You are a founder of the Dufferin
County Canadian Black Association, yes.
Good, because I had to have you say it because I couldn't look down the paper. So I had to have you say it. So why did you put this together? Because there is more to you behind what you do, and you speak from the heart that needs to be told.
So advocacy is, part of my blood. It's I live and breathe it, and it's echoed in the work that I'm doing. My entire household, we've been committed to giving back to the community, and we're from the school that my husband always likes to say the saying, a community builds us. So when a community gets together and help, we all can thrive. And so for me, when I established the Dufferin County Canadian Black Association, the whole idea around it was to be that strong voice and to create that platform where as a community, we can all come together collectively, have that strong voice to advocate for change. It is a platform where we can have a central hub and resource where we can create programs and different opportunities, scholarship opportunities that will benefit the youth in our community, and making sure that we're advancing, all of our needs, whether that be through civic duty, whether it's leadership opportunities, the list goes on. But having that central hub, that central resource where as a community we can come together was pivotal. And given what we experienced this past year with COVID-19 pandemic and not understanding the full impact and the effect of our Black community, that created an alarming need. The urgency was there for us to have something in place. Overlay that with the incidents, the murder of George Floyd and the incidents occurring across the globe, with the Black Lives Matter movement, it was essential. The time was right. We couldn't wait anymore to act and stand up and advocate for the needs of our community. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much the impetus for change, for us to be able to establish the association. And I couldn't have done it alone. I talk about, I keep saying I a lot, but there is a strong team of supporters, in the background. My family is there, as a strong supporter when I'm spending hours, working on initiatives. They're there providing me with that support and understanding. I have a leadership team that, is engaged and, being a strong supporter. And of course, our own Deputy Mayor, Steve Anderson. I have to give him lots of credit as well, because he is a strong voice and a strong supporter saying, yes, this is needed. And, where can I lend my hand? So again, goes back to that community, everyone stepping up to make sure that we can advance the needs of not just the Black community, but Dufferin County as a whole.
Now, wow, so well said. You got to do public speaking. You got to do public speaking. I'm going to be the devil's advocate here because we have multicultural viewers listening, watching everything, and they're going to have questions. So I'm their voice right now and asking you, why that title of Black within your title? Because I had a conversation with my past guest, Courtney Charles, last week, and he embraced it so well. And I just wanted to hear your view on why Black, the name that Black has to be represented within a title or any initiative. Why?
Why not? And, when you look at all of the other associations that are established, you have, the Muslims Association, you have, this association and that association. Why not the Black Association? And aside from that, there's a strong need. Oftentimes, the Black community is marginalized, left out, and historically have been oppressed for so many years. So there is the need to have that active voice, that strong voice, that powerful voice. And we're not at the table yet where there is equity. And so in order for us to get to that position where we have a voice, a solid voice, we need to mobilize. We need to come together and to have that representation at the table. Yes, the name, it says Black community or, Black Canadian Association. That doesn't mean that it's an exclusive group. We are open, we're inclusive to everyone. So all of our programs will be available to anyone in the community who would like to participate. If individuals want to be members, if they want to partner with the association, regardless of your race, your ethnicity, or how you identify, we will be inclusive for all. But the whole point behind it is to advocate for the needs of a community that is often marginalized, that is often oppressed, that is often left out of those important conversations and those important decisions. So yeah, it's essential. It is something that has to be done.
Awesome. Well said. Wow. Well said. Well said, my love. Well said. Do you have, as a mother, okay, I'm just thinking because I don't have a prompter in front of me. I speak from my heart. It's a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
As being a Black mother to your Black children, as a Black mother being a mother to our Black son, do you have any concerns about their future, Althia?
Absolutely. You know, I worry if their future will be secure. I worry how they will survive, if they will survive to, you know, carry on to the next generation. And so part of my advocacy is to make sure that, you know, we're creating change that will, you know, make tomorrow a brighter world for them. I think I mentioned in the pre-interview that, you know, one of the drivers for me was, you know, with George Floyd, when I watched, you know, his murder, you know, how painful it was for me, how traumatic it was for me as a woman, as a mother. And, you know, I look at my young son and I worry about how he will be perceived in this world. I worry if he will come back home. I worry, you know, if he will be, how he will be treated, you know, if stopped by a police officer. So those are some of the things that I worry about. And so it is important for me to be able to do my small part to be able to effect change in some small shape or form. And I know that collectively with all of the great leaders that I've had the opportunity to work with, together we'll be able to make significant changes. And having your platform to carry on these conversations and, you know, creating the awareness is critical to moving the dial a little bit forward. So thank you again for having this conversation.
Oh my gosh, it's going to be continuing all the way through to 2021, 22, wonderful. 23. Awesome, hon. What is one of your initiatives that you're rolling out with your platform right now?
So one of the first initiatives that we're rolling out starting right in the new year is a segment called Ask the Expert. And the segment will be on personal branding. And what better way to kick off the year? We have an amazing speaker lined up to share, you know, how to move your brand forward. His name is Andrew E. Guy, a phenomenal speaker. And so that is one of the first things that we have set up for the association. And we've got programs lined up right until August at this time for different speakers to come on and share their expertise, share their knowledge with the community. These sessions right now are free of charge, so I encourage everyone to start registering and just go onto the website and start submitting your questions to all of our experts. And we will be kicking it off on the first Tuesday in January and every Tuesday after the first Tuesday of every month after that.
Okay, and I know that they can go to the website because I gathered all those social media information from you. So some are going to be shown on the line. They'll be shown in the credits. Real fast, what date is that event going to be taking place?
The first event is the first Tuesday in January. I believe that is the second. Don't quote me. But
that's okay.
The first Tuesday of every month.
First Tuesday? Okay, awesome.
7 p.m.
Well, we are going to push it. And you're going to come back and you're going to bring all of the great nuggets to keep pushing your message because we're not going anywhere to inspire our future prospects. Thank you, my love. I know you're not going anywhere. So stay right there. We'll be right back, guys, with Deputy Mayor Steve Anderson. Thank you, Althia. Great job.
Growing up, I just felt this hatred for myself, and I stopped planning for the future because I didn't think I had one. Without United Way and the generosity of the whole organization, I don't even really know where I'd be.
It was really fun working with them, especially when it comes to the studio tour, because it lets you meet the artists again and again. I hate to say nature inspires me because every artist has it, but it is the grasses, the flowers, the trees, mostly rocks as well. So I use grasses over and over again. Every once in a while somebody wants to have something special, they bring me their own flowers. For me the glaze has to be perfect, and I like I said, a lot of depth in it. And that's it, all done.
Welcome back to Future Prospects. I am honored. This man, Deputy Mayor Steve Anderson of Shelburne Council, Shelburne Committee, Shelburne, he has a voice that when he talks from the soul. Throughout our pre-interview and prior conversations, to me, he's like the voice of like Martin Luther King. He talks with conviction. See the smile. He talks with belief. He talks with passion and change. So with no further ado, welcome Deputy Mayor Steve Anderson. Welcome to Future Prospects.
Oh, thank you very much. And what mighty big shoes to fill with an introduction like that.
No, because that's the only way for me to introduce you, because that's what I said to you when we finished our conversation. Your voice is so passionate. And it's not only your voice, it's what you believe, what you can do with your voice and your leadership, Steve. Am I wrong?
No, you're not, and I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
You're very, very welcome. So I know about you, but this is your time to talk about yourself. So if you can introduce the viewers, who you are, what you've achieved, because this show, again, Steve, is all about inspiring our youth, what they can do with their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you know what? I am a person from humble beginnings. Long before I became deputy mayor for the town of Shelburne, I grew up in an area I think many of your viewers would be familiar with, the community of Jane and Finch. Humble of humblest beginnings, where many didn't see a lot of good coming out of that community, but I'm happy to say that along with myself, many have come out of that community and still continue to come out of that community. So I started there with my mom, single parent household, 6 brothers, 1 sister, really trying to find our way in that community. And from there, I was able to go to the University of Windsor, where I obtained my honors degree in criminology, pursued law school at the University of Ottawa. And once I graduated the University of Ottawa Law School, I was able to get a legal position at the Toronto Transit Commission. So I articled there. At that time, it was 12 months as a student. And then after that 12 months, they hired me on to full-time as a lawyer. So I've been there for about 16 years and counting. And so when I got hired, actually, I became the first Black lawyer that they had hired in their department, the legal department, since they had opened their doors in the 1950s. And so it was kind of surreal, coming from, the Jane and Finch community, where I'd often take that bus, that TTC bus from Jane and Eddystone to Jane Station to go to church services with my mom and the rest of my family. And here I was many years later, these same drivers that I depended on to take me safely to my destination, they're now depending on me to represent them in court. And so that was a whole surreal moment. So with that alone, I was able to use the platform at the TTC, being a very iconic institution, and use that platform to encourage youth, whether it's in the Jane and Finch community or any other community, that it doesn't matter where you start, it's how you decide to finish is the most important thing. From there, I moved from where I was living at the time. I was living in Milton, moved to Shelburne, and I wanted to get involved. I've been involved in my community everywhere that I've gone. And so I was looking for an opportunity. And before I knew it, an opportunity came about, first as a counselor. One of the counselors at the time had passed away, and there was an open call to replace his seat, and I went for it, and then I got appointed. And then I became the first Black counselor for the town of Shelburne. And then after that term, which was only short because it was only 10 months that I had in that position, I ran for deputy mayor for the town of Shelburne. And through that election process in 2018, I was elected to become the first Black deputy mayor for the town of Shelburne as well. So again, what I hope is when young folks see and hear about my story, they could see themselves not in the finished product necessarily at the end, but sort of follow the journey and see themselves in the journey, and also believe that if they want it, they could achieve it.
Well, very well said, my love. And I say that a lot on my shows, but it's so true. My guests talk with heart and love and passion, but very well said, Steve. I'm going to reel it back a little bit here, because when you talked about growing up in the Jane and Finch area, our past guest a couple of weeks ago was a young student attending McMaster University, and it's Kwasi Adu Poku. And he grew up there. and is breaking barriers now, going to his masters, doing what he needs to do to create change, to give back to youth on initiative policies when he found out that he needs to know more about them. So he's going for his master's to do that. So yourself growing up in that area, and we're going to cover some more in your story, Steve. Did you ever think, because I know Jane and Finch area, I knew when I go to church down there, I know how it is now. We've got some issues down there, right? Right. Did you ever think, looking back at your life, my love, did you ever think that you would be able to come out? When you look at yourself now and you say, wow, I'm here and I came from there. Did you ever think that?
Yeah, I did, because I believed in myself at the time, and I had the right family values. I had the right people who I surrounded myself with that also encouraged that belief. And I was really driven not to be defined by the limitations of the area, right? As a young person growing up in Jane and Finch, you could feel the weight of the lower expectations of people in that community. And so there was this drive within me not to become another stat, another disappointment, or to fit or to remain in the box that many, certainly outside of the community, were quite content to put us in. So yes, I had that drive and that feeling that I could achieve and I wanted to achieve. And to be quite honest with you, you really need to have that kind of passion in an environment like that, that drive to really overcome the numerous obstacles that are in your way. So I was fortunate to take the steps that I did to get to where I'm at. But I don't want to make it seem that, when we talked about get out of the area, my fondest memories, interesting enough, Joy, was growing up in Jane and Finch. So yes, it had its challenges, but there was also beauty to the area. There were a lot of families that came together, worked exceptionally hard for what they had and took pride in their environment. And so it wasn't necessarily of escaping Jane and Finch. I would never want to say that. I think that would be a disservice to the community. It wasn't about escaping Jane and Finch. It was about wanting better for myself and wanting to achieve, to prove to those outside of the community that people can come from Jane and Finch and still do well. And that's the reason why I'm always proud to talk about Jane and Finch, no matter where I go, as a badge of honor and not a badge of shame.
Wow. You see what I'm saying when you talk? Okay. Oh, my Lord. Okay. So now your message to youth. You were in an area that challenged you. You looked beyond that and you made something of your life, and you are continually doing that, Steve. But to young people, if it be Jane and Finch, Shelburne, Alliston, Barrie, Toronto, when you talk about the belief, right away you responded to me, belief. Where did that belief factor come from? Where did you dig that up? Where did you get that up to propel it through your system to believe, to forge on?
Yeah, I think it's, it really, for me, it started at home. Again, I talk about those family values. And for most people, it does start at home. It's what you see, what you mimic, what you sort of allow to sort of seep in your pores. And for me, I had the opportunity really to see that work ethic, that drive from my own mom. Again, a single mother having to take care of 7 children, working on a factory salary. And I saw her drive and her determination. She made no excuses about the environment that she was in, the limitations, the fact that she was now a single mother. She found solutions. And so those were things that I saw at a very young age that I absorbed. And I was able to, fortunately, not to say that I didn't have missteps. I want to be clear to the viewers. I had a lot of missteps in that area, but thankfully, because I had a strong family background and the right friends that circled me at the right time, I was able to overcome those setbacks. So the message really to the young folks is, hopefully you could get that at home. And if you can't, really find people who believe in your vision, are able to uplift you where times where you don't feel that you could uplift yourself. And I think that will make the difference.
Amen to that, Steve. Amen. Amen to that. The platform you have right now with not only Althia, but with many of your members of the Shelburne Anti-Black Racism Task Force. Why is this platform so important to you from your voice? Why is it so important?
I think Althia touched on it before when we spoke about the need to have a voice. There needs to be advocacy, that sense of equality and equity. The reason why we're hearing a lot about anti-Black racism and discrimination, systemic discrimination, is because there isn't that equality, there isn't that fairness. And I think it's incumbent upon us, especially in leadership positions, including yourself, Joy, to use our platform to bring awareness, to bring attention to the issues, because that's the only way that we're going to keep this in the limelight. We talked about the George Floyd murder as really illuminating once again that light on racial issues. But you and I know that this work has been ongoing for quite a period of time. And there are moments where things flare up, and then there's some attention to it, and then it goes back to normal. But what I'm happy to see this time around, and I think you would agree with me, is that this time around, and I think with the leadership of our youth, that we're not going to go back to the status quo, and that we're going to continue to keep the light shining on these issues. And I think we're already starting to see the momentum and the changes that we hope for a very long time.
Wow. You have children, Steve?
I do.
All right. How many children do you have?
I have two. I have a son named Devante and a daughter named Asia.
Okay. How proud are you of your children, hon?
Great. My starting with my daughter Asia, who's my youngest child. She herself now is in law school. She started law school this September. Yes, people look at me and they say, "Geez, Steve, how old are you?" And I always tell folks it's because I use oil of Olay, and I've been using it ever since I was a teenager. So I look young. It's because that's my secret, folks. So if you want to look young, oil of Olay.
Okay. All right.
My son also is finished U of T. He's started his own business along with some of his tech business with some of his colleagues from school. So they're both doing well. So of course, I'm certainly proud of them, but certainly that doesn't all come from me. I'd have to obviously give credit to their mom for raising two great kids as well.
Well, they are blessed to have you and your wife. The community of Shelburne is blessed to have you, as well as all of your members on the Shelburne Anti-Black Racism Task Force. I thank you for sharing your story in this segment. And guys, we're going to be right back with Steve and Althia. Stay tuned, guys. Pearls of Wisdom.
They served to protect our homes. Now many are homeless. They fought for our way of life. Now many are fighting personal battles of their own. They answered the call for our country. Now we honor them by serving our communities. Help us help Canada's veterans. Become a Legion member today.
On Rogers TV, we have a reality show like no other. It has a great cast of characters. Some you may have even helped land the role. Each episode has something different. Plans are devised, decisions are made, votes are cast, and money is spent. It's local reality TV that you won't want to miss. And it's exclusive to Rogers cable customers. Catch your municipal council coverage on Rogers TV. Visit rogerstv.com for broadcast details.
What kind of show do you want to see on Rogers TV? What interests you? Log on to rogerstv.com, fill out a show proposal, and tell us about your segment idea. We want to know what you want to see. Rogers TV, only on Rogers.
Welcome back to Future Prospects with Deputy Mayor Steve Anderson and Althia O'Hara Stephenson of the Shelburne Anti-Black Racism Task Force. That is a mouthful, guys. Oh my gosh, that is, but I'm so proud you're here. phenomenal bunch of segments. Amazing, like every single one with pearls of wisdom from the beginning right through to 2 with Althia, and then Steve. Phenomenal. But now we're going to encapsulate everything together. And there was a march that you participated in, and Steve spoke at that march. How did that feel? Like, I didn't attend a march. I would have been there if I knew of it. I did not know of it. That's not an excuse on camera, but I would have been there. How did that feel, being in that march with all those different races and seeing people stand up for Black Lives That Matter, indifference, change? Anybody can jump in.
The march was powerful. There's no other word to describe it. And when you look to, I went to the march not sure what to expect. I anticipated just a handful of people and, maybe 1 or 2, people from diverse backgrounds. But when I walked there, and I purposely stayed in the back so I could absorb it all. And so you saw a sea of people from different ages, different races, gender, you name it. Everyone was there marching in solidarity, marching side by side. There was no other image that is more powerful. I think Steve often refers to an image of Martin Luther King, walking side by side, arms locked together. This moment was very similar to that, but it was that powerful, just seeing the entire Shelburne community out in full force, and surrounding communities as well, because the number of individuals that were there, I'm certain that, they were from neighboring communities, but just walking side by side in solidarity for a common cause. It was quite powerful to see. And when I look back on and reflect on the day, I'm overwhelmed with emotions just for how powerful that scene was. And you have individuals, with their drums and with their signs, and it didn't matter if you were Black, if you're white, if you're other, everyone was there in support of that one common cause.
Wow.
Powerful.
Wow. Steve? Wow.
Yeah, for me, it was 2 things mainly. One, it was vindication. Seeing the people on the streets and the amount of people on the streets. And it was vindication because oftentimes for those who experience racism, they're left to believe that it's in their mind, or they're making it up, or they're exaggerating, or it's not really an issue. So to see people in that large number sharing those thoughts, sharing those emotions in essence, and understanding that the issues are real was a sense of vindication. The second part was thank you. For supporting, because at the end of the day, we need all hands on deck to have that transformative change. This is not just a Black issue. It's not going to be solved just by Black people. It's going to be solved by, as Althia pointed out, the example I often like to give is, the imagery of Martin Luther King walking again with those locked arms. And there were many folks from different backgrounds, different races, different religions. And what often doesn't get spoke about, there's many people who were non-Black actually lost their lives as a result of standing up for what is right. And so what we saw in Shelburne was a standing up for what was right. And so I think regardless of what color you were that day, you felt good because you saw a form of humanity that still exists, and that you hope that will continue to exist as we move forward with this important work.
Well, I'm proud of you both. I'm proud of your task force, and that just touches my heart. And it really does. I can't even find the words right now. I can't, but God bless you. Anyway, we're going to keep going here. Those surveys that were taken when you reached out to the community, was there any surprises within those surveys when you brought them back from the community? If you can share with the viewers, because if we're going to talk, let's talk. So if you can share anything like that, enlighten that for us, please.
There were definitely quite a few surprises. One of the ones that stood out for me from all of the data that we collected was a story of, an individual refusing care from someone, medical care from someone who was trained to deliver care. And that to me just spoke to the level of ignorance and bias that exists in the community. And it was heartbreaking at the same time to hear such a story. And the individual had no choice but to walk away, because the person requiring care simply said, no, I don't want care from you. So that in itself was, one of the most surprising instances, and still to me a very heartbreaking situation to have to hear.
Wow, my God. Still exists and a lot of work to go, but we're on the right path. The right path, my love. Steve, can you weigh in on that?
Yeah, I guess, you always hear stories of racism. Certainly you expect it to some degree. So I think the sort of commentary around racism wasn't totally surprising. What was surprising, I guess, for me was you would think that, and maybe one would imagine if you experienced racism when you were a child, for example, or a young adult, that now as a grown, more mature individual, that maybe you could have pushed that to the side and sort of move on, which society tends to encourage you to do. Like, forget about slavery, forget about X, Y, and Z, and just sort of move on. But what struck me was that these experiences were long lasting, regardless of when they were. And they were as fresh as if it happened yesterday for a lot of these folks, and how it could prohibit people from actually moving forward in their lives, regardless of how long these incidents occurred. And so that really struck me, that there's still a number of people who are walking wounded, if I may put it that way, who have not healed because maybe they haven't been given the platform, they haven't been given the space, they haven't had the conversation to be able to heal. And so the breadth and scope of the people who are walking, as I said, wounded, really, really touched me. And so when you talk about our platform and the importance of why we're strong voices and strong advocates, in some small measure, the hope is to bring healing to not only ourselves, who, Althia and I are not immune to racism, but not only bring healing to ourselves, but to bring a healing to many others. And that's what we're hoping that we could do with some of the initiatives that we're taking.
It's like a friend. Were you going to say something, Althia?
Yes, actually I was.
Yes, please.
Steve touched on healing, and one of the things that, was a discovery for me in hearing some of these stories, individuals actually spoke up saying that having that platform was almost therapeutic for them. Having that platform to share their stories, is a sort of healing, and, they're able to release some of that stress and tension that they've been holding for so many years, experiences that they've had since childhood. So it goes back again, being so important that as a community, we're having these conversations and we're being open and transparent about, the issues that are impacting our community, and making sure that we have that safe space, that platform where people can actually share their lived experiences in order to effect change going forward.
So true, my love. So, so true. I want to touch upon this because we only got a couple of minutes before I let you go. The curriculum needs to change. It needs to embrace more culture, more conversation, that if it be a classroom of Black, white, Indigenous, Asian, Syrian, Muslim, whatever, human beings. What are your thoughts on our curriculum right now as we speak?
It absolutely needs to change. The history is missing right now. And I know there are a lot of groups out there advocating for just that, to make sure that, whether it's Indigenous history is included or Black Canadian history is included. But in order for our youth to grow up in a world where they feel valued and a sense of belonging, that positive history needs to be there. History more than just about slavery and all of the negative effects of slavery. Some of those positive aspects need to be included in our curriculum, starting from your most junior levels right through.
Awesome. Steve, awesome job, Althia. Awesome.
Yeah, I would agree. In a simple word, the curriculum is inadequate. If we're all Canadians, as we like to believe and often say, then it's important that we represent, the contributions that all Canadians have made. And it's not just with the curriculum; it's it's societal as well. Maybe it's easy to pick on the curriculum. That's certainly one spoke in the wheel, but there are many other avenues that need to be changed, and thinking that has to be changed. We talk about contributions of Canadians. And Joy, you encouraged real talk. We just had, on November the 11th, Remembrance Day, as we highlighted the contributions of soldiers who made sacrifice to allow us to enjoy the freedoms that we have today. And the soldiers across the board should be celebrated for that because they made the ultimate sacrifice. But when I turn on the television or when I go through the papers and I see the faces of those who made sacrifices, I'm not seeing the Black veterans. I'm not seeing the South Asian veterans. I'm not seeing, many other groups, the indigenous veterans that have fought and also lost their lives equally so that we can enjoy the freedoms that we have. So there needs to be changes across the board. So whether we're talking about in the educational system, in government, which is a big issue right now, in policing as well, societal norms and perceptions and how they value individuals like ourselves and others also has to be changed. And once again, platforms like the one that you're providing for us, the ones that Althia and I are using for ourselves, what we're hoping is that will move the needle in the right direction.
Hope and will. Hope and will. Because throughout the conversation, did you want to say anything, Althia, before I say anything?
No, that's good.
All right, my love, I don't want to cut you off there. Hope and will, because this is a gift to all of us as well as yourselves. You're a gift to society. We're a gift to each other. One word of wisdom from each of you just to share to our youth, because I know you're coming back, but one word, one sentence, if you can leave to our youth.
A sentence, be brave and have courage.
Amen. Amen, sweetie. Steve?
You can't expect anyone else to fight your battles. If you want change, you got to go out and get it.
You know something? I thank you both so, so much for taking the time. And I know this is not the first and it's not the last because you're coming back. Thank you, Althia, and thank you, Steve. God bless you. I'm here for you always. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
I'm Mother Earth.